folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. What's happening?
That's right. I'm Sam Healey.
That was very dramatic.
That was not worth the wait.
All right, folks, we're here to talk about board games. This is the first in 2 videos we're doing for 2014. Our next video, we're going to talk about our top 10 games, but here we want to talk about a lot of games and the year as a whole. So we're going to talk about the year, and then, but before we do that, I guess, what's your impressions of 2014 in gaming overall?
I actually thought it was a really great year overall. It's been one of the best years in a while, I felt. It's been one of the best years since we had, I forget which year this was, but the year that Seven Wonders came out was a great year. And I forget if that was 3 years ago or 4.
2010?
I think 10 might be right.
That was a really great year, and then 2008 was the year pandemic came out, if I'm not mistaken, and that was a great year. And this is another one of those flagship years, I think. This has been a really wonderful slate of diverse games.
I don't know that I would say that it's one of the greatest years, and the only reason is I don't know that there's many games that came out this year that will change gaming.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of great games, but I don't know that there's, with the exception of maybe one, I don't know that there's many games that will look back and go, wow, that was... I think there's a lot of great games that came out this year, but we're not seeing... there's not that one game. There's not that one, you mentioned Pandemic, etc. There wasn't one of those this year, I don't feel. There wasn't one game that everybody was falling all over themselves. So, let's take a look at some of the things that happened this year.
Okay.
The biggest... sorry, I didn't mean to skip you. What you thought of the year? Was it an ordinary year?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there were a whole mess of games that came out.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious. It seemed like a new game was coming out almost every week. I mean, what with Kickstarter and all these other things that are thrown in there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
It just seems like it was like a machine, just kept churning and churning and churning. I mean, I was looking at for the best games 2014 that we're about to do, and there were 41 pages of games published
releases from the year
of 2014. 41 pages,
and I think there's 50 per page. I think 2,000 releases. Yeah.
I mean, come on, 2,000 games in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's nuts. The problem, I think, the reason we're kind of ho-hum about it, well, at least he is, and you were a little bit more ramped up about it. I think I'm a little bit more ho-hum, is because there's so much... There's so many
meh games.
There's so many meh games. There aren't any huge, whoa, holy cow kind of...
Well, no, I got some of those.
Yeah, I mean, personally speaking, but one where, like, everybody... There's no Ticket to Rides. There's no Seven Wonders.
The game I saw people go gaga over the most, over the whole year, it might have been Dice Masters if it hadn't had that distribution problem for, like, 75% of the year.
I guess that had the potential.
But I saw a lot of people playing Splendor. I saw a lot of people playing Splendor a lot.
Yeah.
It got a lot of play.
Yeah, but even on...
I think Splendor's a fine game, but I think no one's going to remember Splendor in 4 years.
Yeah, but there's still people going Splendor... I mean, it's got a nickname, Splendor Meh.
I didn't know that was the nickname.
Yeah, Splend Meh. I saw somebody call it that. Just
Oh, boo to them. Okay.
Famous.
I mean, it's just... I mean, I'm just saying. I mean...
But
I don't know.
I think Splendor's fine again, but I don't think it has the legs to go the distance.
I've never played Splendor. There's that. But I've watched Splendor being played many times, and I have no desire to play it at all.
Oh, well, I like
None.
it.
I think it's interesting. It's a fine game. It's a good family game because it has that simplicity of entry. Like a Ticket to Ride, right? Yeah. With no special powers, no funky stuff.
Well, I considered it for my top 10. I'm just saying.
There was a lot of cool stuff.
It's in my top 30 of the year.
There was a lot of cool stuff, but there wasn't anything that was mind-blowing awesomeness. Except for some of the ones on my list.
I think the reason I like this year so much, and maybe this is why you guys are not so jazzed up on 2014 as a whole, is because there were a lot of games released this year that fall into that mid-weight category. Yeah. There were not a lot of really heavy hits.
Yeah.
There's not 10 games that take up 3 hours and are massive, plastic, behemoths. But there are a lot of games in that Splendor category.
Well, no, that is not it for me at all. I love this year. The reason I'm not being mad, I'm just being cautious, I think is my word. Because I said last year, oh, fantastic year, and I'm like, oh, I feel the same way this year. Oh, I better look at this more carefully. So here's the thing. This is the first year I felt almost overwhelmed, like Sam said, by the number of games. Now, part of that is because at the Dice Tower now, we are really getting everything. Yeah. Part of that is because the Kickstarters are now delivering. Mm-hmm. Okay, Kickstarters have been out for several years now. This was the first year where we saw, it seems like every other game I was showing you guys was a Kickstarter game. Okay?
Right.
And that's not necessarily a great thing, though.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm going to say that now. There's a couple Kickstarters, and I have at least one of them in my top 10. There's a couple Kickstarters that came out. I should say more than a couple. There's probably in 20.
Yeah.
20 or so Kickstarters that I was very impressed with. But many, if not more, I was not impressed with. And I know people say all the time, they'll say, well, it's the same thing with published games. No, it's not. It is not the same. The published games, especially from the established companies, yeah, I play bad published games, but I play abysmal Kickstarter games. And that can wear on you after a while.
Right. See, but that's the thing. I don't think a slew of bad Kickstarter games a bad year makes.
No, it doesn't, but I'm saying it kind of balances out the year. Yes, there was more good games this year, but that's because there was thousands of games released. So
good year,
numerically, of course, there are more good games.
Well, I mean, if there were, I'm throwing a number of 10 great games last year.
There were.
And only 2 bad ones. And this year we have 20 great games and 500 bad ones. That's still a better year for me.
Okay, and that's fair. And I'm not saying that.
That makes sense.
You're
You know
a
what I
glass
mean?
half full kind of guy.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't want to be on the negative side.
He's a glass half empty.
I'm with Z.
Where is the glass?
Exactly.
Is the question.
Yes.
Who
Okay.
took Tom's glass?
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about what happened this year. The biggest news story by far was the conquering juggernaut of Asmodee. First, them getting Days of Wonder was impressive.
All hail,
Asmodee.
But taking Fantasy Flight, that was something nobody saw coming.
Well, I don't know if I would call it taking Fantasy Flight.
Merging with Fantasy Flight.
They are mutually, they're going to an agreement which is mutually helpful.
Yes.
I don't think Fantasy Flight is about to be taken over by, they're helping each other, and so that when the news first broke, the rumblings was Asmodee has acquired Fantasy Flight, which blew what little hair I have left back. But that's not really what happened. They entered into what appears to be an agreement where they are sharing resources, really.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yes, but it still looks like Asmodee would be above Fantasy Flight in the pie chart. I know the actual thing now because I've talked to Christian Peterson by the time this video is posted, but I don't know what it. I haven't talked to him yet.
Thickness?
I will have had.
Thickness?
Go ahead, keep going. We're just...
Okay, but here's the thing. It wasn't just that. This is the year that Asmodee just really... I thought Asmodee had a strong year last year, but this year they were like the top dog.
Yeah.
At Gen Con, when they came and they had this super strong Gen Con slew of releases, and then their Essen releases were like just as big. They had like 2 waves of just solid games whose quality are equal to Fantasy Flights at this point, the components, and they have taken this Euro game and Amerithrash and merged them together in a way I think that's making everybody happy.
They were strong at Origins, too. I mean, they had a big presence at...
That's true. They had a big presence at Origins, too, yeah.
Everywhere.
Flexing
their muscles.
I know for me, it's one of that booth I got to go to first. Really, it is at this point. Because they put out the kind of games I like, and I know they're going to look amazing because the artwork is unbelievable.
It's because Bruno Catala's there. That's the only reason.
No, it's because...
Hey, guys!
It's because most of the games they put out... It's because most of the games they put out do fall in that, what I call the French design camp, which is sort of between the other 2 you mentioned. And those are the kind of games I prefer.
The French design camp.
On the opposite end of the spectrum this year, Valley, or Radiant Games, or whatever they're calling themselves, they just fell apart this year. They were sued at the beginning of the year, I think. That suit has lasted all year. It is going to trial very soon. I think February it's going to trial. They're losing the license for the game. The 2 big games, Airborne in Your Pocket and Upfront, were both supposed to be out last year.
Right.
And so it looks like that's just folding up, and that's a big black eye for another Kickstarter campaign, because that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that are gone, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
This was a resurgent year, I think, for Z-Man games. Last year, Z-Man had been taken over by Philosophia, and we certainly felt growing pains there. People want to play Robinson Crusoe, it was hard to find. People want to play Pandemic, it was hard to find. People want to play this. What's the Terra Mystica? They couldn't keep their games in stock, but now they seem to have. It seems to be working much better this year, and they really seem to solidify their ties with Hans and Gluck. Carcassonne is now back with a vengeance. They got a new version. They got the winter version. They're reprinting a lot of the older Hans and Gluck games. What's the one you like? Vikings and St. Petersburg, and so Z-Man, I think, is becoming a big player again.
Right. They found their stride again this year. Yeah, I agree.
This was also the year of AEG jumping the shark, as it were, with Love Letter. I think there was maybe 10 different versions. My favorite being Batman Love Letter, because just the title of that makes no sense.
Batman.
I'm going to buy his hand that for his birthday.
Year
Batman.
1.
But
Letter returns.
Joking aside, AEG really is taking this mini card games or the micro games and really doing well with them. Love Letter, Lost Legacy. They have, I think, 5 other little small ones, Cypher and all that.
That whole line that they have with the usually Japanese games that they are reprinting, I think it's a wonderful little line. I love it. I like most of the games in it, and I think it's something that Z-Man used to do, and they've now started doing, and they're doing very well with it.
We also saw Game Right really come into stride this year. We saw it last year too with Forbidden Desert, and now we see Sushi Go, and no longer are they looked at as that company that's in Target.
That makes kids games.
They had the kids.
Yeah, I agree.
So Sushi Go is like, I think the numbers at Dice Tower Con was like the most played game there or something. I mean, granted, it's a 5-minute game, but it was just one of those games that really took off. This was also the year, on a personal note, I was very pleased with Dice Tower Essentials launching, and it seemed like Sheriff of Nottingham launched to some success. I'm pretty pleased about that, and hoping that next year is just as good. Dice Masters was a game that could have been a monster hit. It was pretty big as is, but major supply issues, and that supply issues has plagued the entire industry. Wizards of the Coast has had a problem keeping Dungeons and Dragons in stock. They had many companies. There was strikes on the West Coast. There was customs things. There's just a lot of problems. Right. Also, because there's 2,000 games being released, they're taxing some of these publishers to the manufacturers to the limits.
Yeah. At some point that there's only so fast you can print cardboard. That you'll hit that choke point.
Yeah.
iOS was a big thing of this year, with becoming involved in gaming. We saw Alchemists, the thing that takes a picture of the things.
Games that
not iOS, I'm sorry. Enhanced by electronics, not just iOS.
Right.
We saw the Golem Arcana with the miniatures, and we saw XCOM with it coming in. And so this, I think, we'll see more fully realized next year. But we're starting to see this, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of this for a while. Right. I think this is going to be the next fad.
There's some on Kickstarter.
It's different than catching on.
And there's some on Kickstarter as well that are going to be doing that. But again, therein lies the potential for really bad implementation of electronic devices because no checks and balances there.
Cryptozoic split into 2 companies this year. They have their Cryptozoic, which has all the brand names, and then the one that went off, which I think was Rebel, or I forget the new name of the new company was, which has all the non-IP games.
Right.
This year we saw the first time a game was ever released with 5 different covers that I know of.
Yes.
That's going to happen again.
Let's hope that actually doesn't become a trend. And you know what? I don't think it will be, because unlike comic books where you could buy all 5 comic books and not blink too much, buying 5 copies of a game is pricey.
Why would you ever want to do that anyway? I mean...
Well, again, AEG Love Letter. I mean, it's not like it's that much different.
Well, I know. Actually, it is different. I mean, you do have different themings, I guess you could say, on Love Letter. It's just a different cover of a box. The game on the inside is the same. I mean, there's not even a retheming.
Well, no one's telling anybody to buy all 5.
Right, I got that. But, I mean, it just seemed like a gimmicky stab
I thought
at.
it was a finely done gimmick, though. I didn't think it was, hey, all 5 covers are the same, but inside you get a random piece,
Yeah, I don't think they were actually trying to get people to buy all 5.
Well,
That's a
maybe
problem.
not, yeah.
If the cover's different,
Oh, could you imagine if there's a different piece in all 5? Then you would have
know
seen
what I
people
mean?
complain.
yeah, then that's a problem, because then you really need,
Well, I'm
there is
not-
something missing then.
I just don't understand why they had to. I don't know. I would like to have been a fly on the wall during that when that decision was made.
This is what happened. They're like, here's the 5 covers that we have possibilities for. And the guy's like, oh, I can't decide. You know what? Let's just do them all.
Quite likely, yeah. I really didn't think it was a big
How
deal.
how does paying for artwork work like that? I mean, if you have different,
I think
Well,
you
that
pay for
art-
the artwork.
That
you
art,
already paid for the art.
yeah,
so
that
now
artwork was all
how you
already
use it is-
commissioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was all commissioned.
That's why a lot of games, the artwork on the cover is also from one of the cards. And some games have done that to good effect. Some games have done it, like Ticket to Ride. The games, they've always had all those characters on the cover. They're like from the board or from cards, and they've slid them onto the cover. The different characters. Mr. the Abbey, I remember very specifically.
Right,
They took the
right.
different people.
yeah.
Speaking of Days of Wonder, though, this was the 10th anniversary year of both Memoir 44 and Ticket to Ride. For Memoir 44, they released a bunch of maps that kind of were released to like very little fanfare. But Ticket to Ride,
Well, that's because.
oh
come on.
man.
Yeah, I feel slighted.
Yeah, I didn't actually even know that they had celebrated, that they had done something special for Memoir 44.
I feel slighted.
Because it's still in the closet, we haven't played it?
Yeah,
No, because there was
Not
no
only that,
fanfare either.
but I mean,
I mean,
if
Ticket to Ride.
you're gonna give a blinged out version of Ticket to Ride, you should give a blinged out version of Memoir.
I'm not sure on the numbers, but I want to say Ticket to Ride has probably sold 10 times the number of Memoir. It has a very universal theme to it. Not everyone's interested in World War II.
What you do is
Here,
you make a
I got
blinged out
I
memoir.
got something for you. That's all the cares I have. All right, come on, man, make a blinged out copy of Memoir for me. will you?
One.
Just one,
Send
for
it to
me.
Sam Healey.
Okay.
And I'll tell everybody how nice it is, and then they'll bug you for it.
But this being said, it is pretty cool that one company has 2 games like that 10 years later are both still being played a lot. That's a big deal. You were talking about Splendor and all those other games. How many games came out in 2014 will we still be raving about in 2024?
Right.
All 10.
If by that time we'll all be cybernetic people in the future. All right. This year, International Tabletop Day had its 2nd day. I still think it's kind of funny that we just decided today to play games. I'll do it any Saturday. But it was big, I think.
Yeah, it gets
certainly a lot of people played games.
It gets buzz, and that's good for the hobby ultimately. So.
And Tabletop raised over $1.5 million for their next season of their show. So, and you know what? That's one thing that can segue this. This year was definitely huge board game wise. I cannot tell you guys, just looking at the numbers across the board, we mentioned there's 2,000 games out, but there's 2,000 games that are selling. All these companies are selling these games. There are a couple companies that are going out of business, but not many. And every convention is packed to the hilt.
Right,
Every
right.
convention grows. Conventions are selling out. More people are playing games. Games are getting into Target and Walmart
Right.
and you know all these stores. It's phenomenal.
Well, I'll tell you, this was.
The games that are getting into Target and getting into Walmart are the Ticket to Rides, the Pandemics,
Yeah, what
the
would it
big
be?
names.
What do you mean?
the 2,000 games that came out this year. They're not getting into Target.
Well, of course.
No, that's not what we're talking about. I'm saying that this year, I'm seeing board gaming make a resurgence in general. It's becoming big.
I'll tell you, every year we hear about how board games are becoming more mainstream, and every year they're becoming more and more mainstream. But this year was the year that I started to see the cracks in the wall when it came to that. I saw board games on TV shows.
Wait, that was my next thing.
They were in
That's my next line.
magazines. Just a couple days ago, I read an article that Popular Mechanics, the magazine, put out on the top 10 games of the year. I don't know why.
One was Sheriff of Nottingham.
And they are...
Yeah, I understand.
They were amazing games. Like, there was not one game
list, yeah.
that was like a Yahtzee Next Generation thing. They were all incredible games, and that's what I mean. That where I'm starting to see that really you start, coming down the pipe.
I wonder though, like you were talking about the games that are showing up on, in movies, and how much of that is actual, real board game popularity and not just bought for product placement.
Well, no.
Isn't that the same thing?
Obviously, it is.
No, it's not.
No, because before with the product placement, no one would have even attempted to do that. It would be a stupid waste of money.
Not necessarily. Advertising is advertising.
Yeah, but advertising to the wrong crowd is
Think
basically
about it.
just wasting your money.
Think about it. I mean, car companies have been doing it all the time.
Yeah, but you need a
They
car.
sell more cars. I don't know what you mean.
No, I'm just saying. I'm wondering how much of the... What you guys, I guess, are interpreting as board games are becoming more popular. See, they're showing up in this, they're showing up in that, they're showing up in... How do we know that's not just the company saying, we're going to advertise our product more, so here, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars to put our game in the screenshot.
Oh, I know that's what it is. I'm not. That's actually. I mean,
yeah, I don't
for at
think
least
that-
one company
I
I can
don't-
think of, that's a known fact. But
I don't think that's an actual translation to actual popularity of board games.
I do. I think
I think it's
the
an
company's
advertisement,
feeling
that's it.
brave enough to do that, which is what Tom's talking about. And B, if it shows up in a movie or TV show, it will translate into popularity.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
what I mean?
Anecdotally, every company, except for the Eeyore guys,
I don't know.
Every-
what that was either.
I know what he was trying to say, but that's not a word.
Go ahead.
By way of anecdote.
yes. Just from me talking to the different publishers, all the different publishers I've talked to, other than a few grouchy ones who will, you can hand them money and they'd be like, well,
Okay.
do I have to put this in my pocket now? Okay. Other than those guys, every publisher I've talked to has told me this year has been like amazing compared to previous years. Every convention has grown. Gen Con to mind-boggling popularity.
Right.
Origins grew. Dice Tower Con, BGG Con, all these little cons. We talked 5 years ago. There was Gen Con and Origins and then a bunch of weenie cons. There wasn't. Now there's big cons everywhere.
Yeah.
PAX. They're there's a big chunk of PAX that's board gaming. And that's what I'm saying. We're just seeing this come across. My mom emailed me yesterday and said, board games are 50% off on Amazon. Here's the list. Which one should I get?
Well, then it must be popular.
Okay. He called me the glass half full guy?
I'm
Empty.
just saying. I don't know. I don't know. You guys are
So
making
you don't think you're saying
you're
you don't
making
think
it
the
sound
games are,
like we're gonna walk into President Obama's house and he's gonna be playing
the White House?
Settlers of Catan with his family.
No, but not the next president, but the president after that will be. I'm telling you, it's happening.
I doubt it.
No,
It's
I mean I
happening.
get what you're saying, Sam, and I'm not saying that it's going to be an overnight thing, but all I said was I'm starting to see the cracks in the wall, which is typically a negative.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was expecting a negative.
I see the rats getting off the ship.
I'm trying to come up with a positive saying for the same thing, but I'm starting to see it happening. That's all I was saying. That I hear every year how board games are becoming more and more popular. They're starting to get mainstream. Is the word mainstream? This is the year that I finally thought to myself, you know what? Games are starting to become a little bit more mainstream.
But they are. I mean, just from the
It's
numbers
not like
alone.
You no longer
the
can
numbers
be like,
alone
oh yeah,
prove
I
it.
like board games to some random person, and 100% of the time you would get the whole
I
like
guess
Monopoly, and now I think you get away with maybe 10 of those people
I guess
being like, oh okay.
I guess I would like to have a more empirical definition of what you mean by mainstream. Because to me, football is mainstream.
No, we're not claiming that it's as popular as sports.
No, but I'm just saying. You understand what
Yeah, I
I'm
do.
getting at? Right now, it seems to be an arbitrary definition or a nebulous definition that board games are becoming more mainstream, and by more mainstream, we're meaning that. I saw a copy of Ticket to Ride in Target, or I saw a copy of whatever game in Toys R Us, or whatever.
Right.
And is that same game going to be there next month? Is it going to be there next year?
Yeah, but you have to realize it's a huge decision for Target, for example, to carry a board game from, to carry Wits and Wagers.
Carry
That's a
X-Wing.
massive deal. For them to carry Wits
X-Wing
and
is
Wagers.
a Star Wars product. I can see them saying, yes, it's Star Wars.
Yes,
That's gonna
but
sell.
Star Wars Queen's Gambit wasn't sold in stores everywhere. It wasn't. I'm telling you, you may be looking for empirical evidence, but I'm talking when I can go to Toys R Us, Walmart, and see all these games on the shelf. They were not there 2 years ago. They were not there.
I understand, but you're
How's that not evidence alone?
I'm not trying to argue just for the sake of argument. I just don't think. I think this is still a big fish, small pond.
No one's arguing that, but what I'm saying is I think the board game audience has almost doubled in the past 5 years.
You go to a convention that has, I don't know, what, 50,000, 60,000 people? Is that a big convention?
Yeah, 50,000 people.
For board gaming, yes.
Yeah, you go to one football game, you got that many people.
Again.
I mean, and you go to, you plug it in. It's not as mainstream as many people think it is. We think it is because that's all we do.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
I know what
arguing
you're
that it's
saying.
like one of the most popular things. What I'm saying is the size of board gaming itself. I'm telling
growing,
you,
yes.
it's doubled in the past 5 years, at least. It has.
Okay.
It really has. Just okay. Well, anyway, moving on. Another thing we saw this year was a lot of European companies are taking the United States seriously and publishing directly to the United States rather than going through someone. Portal did it. Haba has their own U.S. division now. Asmodee is already in both countries, but they took the U.S. part of it very seriously as opposed to the previous years. Ravensburger is now coming straight to America, and one other company was, and I forgot who it was. Then reprints and revisions of games. Now, I don't know what you did for your top 10, then you can do whatever you want. But for my top 10, I excluded these because they were like reworkings of older games. So I didn't put them in my top 10, but you can. But there were many solid ones that happened this year. We saw King of Tokyo got revamped to King of New York. We saw Sheriff of Nottingham, which was a revamping of Robin Hood. We saw Lost Valley reprint. We saw the Bucket King. That's a small one, but it was done. We saw the Blue Man Legends, which was sorry, Blue Moon. The Blue Man Legends. That's a different game. Blue Moon.
Great. Now I'm picturing it like an album with other hits or something. Okay.
Lords of Zidit was a reworking of a game that came out. Right. The Ticket to Ride 10th edition came out. There was a lot of... I said that reprints were dead.
There were a lot, yeah, but I really don't think the year stands out for that, though, myself. I think
we have to make another list. You just mentioned like 5 of my games.
Did I?
No.
I didn't think I would.
I think we get reprints every year, and they're usually reprinted because they're good and they're better the second time, and they either get reworked or not.
No, I'm not talking about straight reprints. I'm saying we're seeing a lot of reworkings.
Lost Valley, though, was not a better reprint.
Yeah, it was.
No. It was the same game.
No, there was a lot of changes. A lot of changes.
Well, the quality of the game, I'll put it that way.
Well, the quality was about the same.
Was very equal.
Again, I just don't think the year stood out for me because of the reprint.
And I'll say this, and I think Zee will back me up on this. I think we are now no longer seeing a domination of Euro games in the industry, that this crossover genre, this half Amerithrash, half Euros, is by far the most dominating. The medium Euros, the Amerithrash has really come across. There's like almost no distinction anymore. There's just games.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess so, but that's because it's now, and I guess we're saying the same thing, but now the heavy Euros and the heavy Amerithrash games are the outliers.
They are. I agree.
But that's because everything else is so in the middle and there's so many.
Right. But I'm saying, like, when I went to Essen this year, there's some heavy Euro games there. But first of all, most of them weren't the talk of the town.
Right.
They were just some. And then at Gen Con, there's some heavy Amerithrash games there. And some of them were very much talk, but it's that middle stuff. And that's where Asmodee is sitting right there in that middle.
That happens with anything. Those two schools of development lived in isolation for a long time, and you bring things together, they're going to start to mingle. I mean,
well, I'm really liking their kids.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with you. That's my favorite style of game, is somewhere in the middle.
All right, it's time again, our next list will be our top 10, but it's time now to get to some superlatives in the yearbook, most likely to succeed stuff.
Ooh.
So, the best card game, we do this for Sam because he wants his games to be board games. For me, my favorite...
I don't know why we did best card game. I just felt like I'm going to repeat something I'm going to say in my top 10.
Are you? Okay, well then we'll skip that. We'll skip it.
No. I want to talk about a couple of games here.
Okay, well I picked a card game that just barely missed my top 10. I mean, it was almost there because I love this. It was such a small game, and this is actually on my surprise too because I didn't expect this game to be anything at all, and that's Good Cop, Bad Cop. That was a little card game. I played it, and I was like, wow, this is so much fun. For how small it was, it just packed a punch. So...
Well, for me, the best card games, I'm going to mention one heavy card game and one card game that I would recommend for you and your family.
And then I'll mention one card game for...
And then 4 others.
Well, I'm the card game guy. Give me a break. Sam, you can skip it. I'll say one for you. How about that? I love card games. It's my favorite kind of game. And I think my favorite heavy card game of the year was Imperial Settlers, which is basically a card game. But... Diamonds was a really great game this year, a trick-taking game. Feels
You haven't
very
played Diamonds yet, have you?
You know, it's a game that feels like an old game. It's a brand new game, but you could bring it out with the family and tell them it's a classic and they wouldn't know. Because it has that quality. It feels like a classic out
Zee
the
Garcia,
gate.
advocate for lying.
What?
You could bring him out and tell him it's...
Oh, yeah. Oh, lying to your family. Yes, of course. So, pick it up. Lie to your family about it.
The opinions of the contributors of the Dice Tower do not necessarily reflect those of the Dice Tower in general.
Anyway, I like those a lot.
No, but you know, if you listen to the Dice Tower audio show and listen to all the contributors, best card game, I think it was like 90% Diamonds. And Diamonds is just getting a lot of love. And
really?
It's a classic trick-taking
I
game.
don't listen to that. So.
Are you letting him cover for you for card games?
Why would I let him cover for me?
Go.
Imperial Assault. No, I'm just kidding.
For the cards are plastic.
There are cards.
And three-dimensional.
Yes. No. I was thinking, again, this one didn't make my actual top 10 list, but it just missed it. And it's a really cool game, and it's called Star Realms. That would be my card game of the year.
Whoa.
Because
I had that on his top 10.
it was
you got a
huge hit, and it came out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah, it
just
did, yeah.
out of nowhere, and it just smacked everybody in the face. And you got a lot of game for very little payment. Box is what, 15, 20 bucks.
Fits in your pocket.
And man, you
got big
can.
pockets, I guess.
There's a lot of longevity in that box, and then they come up with other expansions that add little things here and there to it. Really great game, I thought. Star Realms.
It's a good choice.
All right, then innovation. That's something I'm always looking for. How many games say, we're this game plus this game? Or we're another worker placement game. What's innovative? So for me, this was a hard choice. I looked at the Golem Arcana
Right.
because the whole thing with the iPad or, Alchemist. But I know it doesn't seem like it's that innovative, but it's the mechanism in Dead of Winter that...
Yeah, the
deck.
Crossroads.
The Crossroads system.
You thought that was the most innovative thing this year?
Man, I can't get over it. Every time I play it,
gotta
it's such
say-
a neat thing. What happens depends on what's going on.
I get what you're
I've
saying.
never seen that in a game before. It's really
I have
cool.
to say, it did not come across like a particularly innovative year to
Well, then
me.
think-
I think the most innovative thing probably really is what Alchemists does, which I have not played. So I can't
No, that
say...
is very innovative, but it's also kind of
Gimmicky.
not gimmicky, but kind of when it's like
Gimmicky.
we're using this, but it's like something everyone expected to happen. It wasn't like people were like, "What? You can use the iPhone in the game?" We were building up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a good argument. Sorry. Do you got something that's innovative? Since he's saying nothing.
Well, I was
I am
thinking,
saying something. I wanted to actually say, I think the most innovative thing I actually got to play this year was Paperback.
But that's just mixing two things together, deck building and Scrabble.
And it did it really well.
But that's not innovative.
Yeah, it is. A combination of two other previous things that works well together is innovation.
no, what he's saying is that there wasn't an innovative thing in it. A
And
combination.
I'm saying the combination in
Oh, we're allowed to do
itself is
combinations?
innovative.
Oh, well, I don't know. All right. What
That's
about
like saying a fridge that flies is not innovative. It's innovative. It's a thing that hasn't been done before. I don't care if, it's a combination of two previous things.
This is an awesome argument.
People are backing me up right now.
Flying refrigerator.
Yes, you dial the number for your fridge and it will come to you. Call me, Google.
Just go. Come on,
Anyway,
go.
Paperback I thought was good because, yes, it's like Scrabble meets Dominion. You use his template. Go.
I thought Spyfall was probably one of the more innovative things that came on the scene this year.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That's a good one too.
Where you all have you all have a location, and except for one person, and that one person
Usually
has to try to figure out. Well, in the last throw of games, yeah, where the last person has to figure out where they are and try to do so. I've never seen that really happen that way in other kinds of games. I know there's social-based games like that, where you have to interact with people, but it kind of went backwards, if that makes any sense. Where
it's an interesting social
one person
game,
starts with absolutely no information, and everybody else starts with all the information, and you have to play that tightrope of.
And there's a game I've played. I forget what it's called now, but it did something very, very similar. But and I wish I could remember what it was called. But you basically gave everybody one blank card and one card, and then the real cards had a word, and people went around saying words.
Oh, yeah.
What's that game called? I cannot remember. But anyway, the person who had the blank card had to say a word that they thought, what are they hinting at? And you wrote them down on this board, and at the end, people voted on who they thought had the blank. It's a similar concept. Obviously, this is much more developed and much more social.
Links. I think
Something
it was
like
Links
that.
with a Q. Linqs? Linko or something like that. Someone will say it in the comments.
Yeah.
All right. Worst game of the year. Zee was, I was talking to Zee yesterday. He felt bad that he had to even say something. But, okay, it is tough on this. And the thing was, I felt like I played so many bad ones this year.
I actually felt like I did not play that many bad games. And maybe that's because I've been ducking the game nights that really bring the heat. You know what I mean? But I was telling Tom, I was racking my brain for something truly awful. And the game I'm going to say is bad. I did not like it at all. I think I gave it like a 3 on Board Game Geek.
Then that's bad.
It's bad. I thought it was bad.
What is it?
It's Assassin's Creed Arena was my...
Ooh, that was a stinker.
Yeah,
It wasn't
the worst
bad.
game of the year
That
for
was a
me.
stinker.
All right.
But I couldn't come up with that many other really bad games. I just avoided them, I guess. Tom will correct me now.
No, well, you didn't play one-upmanship. That's the kind of the slam dunk. But like I said, the Kickstarter genre produced a lot of bad games this year. They produced good ones too. Don't get on my case. But I think tie for the worst of the Kickstarter group was both from GameSolid. Actually, was that Snowball Battle, which was terrible, and Ruse.
Oh yeah,
Ruse, a storytelling game.
I didn't play either one of those, though.
Wow.
You played Ruse, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
All right. Was that your pick?
No, it was not my pick. I would say probably my pick of. I guess this is going to kind of bleed into disappointment a little bit. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but it looked so great. It looked so good, and then it was not, and that was Realm of Wonder.
The one you just played.
I heard that was really bad. I haven't played.
That big circular board, all that beautiful artwork, nice miniatures. I mean, each one only has their only one.
Great.
But man, it looked so good, and then it was just like, it was very similar. It felt like a roll and move game, where you have this many times to move, and then when you get here, you can do something, and then you can get smacked by a person to get sent all the way back to your home, and now you got to start all over.
Okay.
I mean, what it is you're in this shifting realm of these 3 different realms.
And the rings on the board actually rotate.
Yes,
right?
and the middle one is the castle that you're trying to get to score and win the game. And but you have to do certain things before you get there. And you can't enter that center realm until you actually accomplish the points or whatever it is, the scenario. But along the way, you can battle different monsters that are on the board, and that's one of the ways you can get points or trophies or what have you. Okay. And if that monster beats you, it's not just you go away, you've been defeated. No, you go back to your home.
You have to start again.
And you have to start all over again.
Whee!
Oh my goodness. It was, man, that was my worst game of the year.
I look forward to not playing that.
It was.
I haven't played it yet, so I need someone to play it with me.
The realm was not wonderful.
All right, well, we're going to skip a couple categories so that we can keep this within a reasonable time.
Well, let's knock them out super quick then.
I'm Nazi!
We can do them super fast.
All right.
Come on, let's do it.
Best components. For me, really good components in most games, but I'm going to go with Zaya. Loved. That's a Kickstarter done right. Beautiful metal coins, painted chips.
You want to go fast?
Beautiful.
Here.
Done.
I don't have best components, but I have best artwork.
Wow, that was fast!
Best artwork goes to Abyss.
I agree with Abyss, although I think Lagoon was almost as good. Even though I hated the game of Lagoon, the artwork was amazing. Okay.
I'm going to say... nothing.
Okay. Biggest surprise of the year. For me, it was a tie between Medieval Academy, a very light game, didn't expect to do that well, just amazed me, and Viceroy. That little card game, and wow, was that a big...
I had a lot of good surprises this year. Both of those.
There was really like 50 that I could have put.
Both of those, yes. I put on my list 2 games, Shadowrun Crossfire, because I was really expecting nothing out of that. That was good. And Spike, which I just played. Spike is a game from R&R Games about laying train tracks and delivering goods.
I think you might like it.
Again, I was not sure what I was going to get. Really liked that game. My 2 biggest surprises right there.
My biggest surprise of the year was probably Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Yeah.
That was a hugely fun time.
I still remember pulling it out, and Sam was like, "Oh."
Yeah, because it was just in this little box, and I'm like,
It doesn't look like it's going to be a good game, right?
Yeah, but it was really cool. It was a really fun time. So, Good Cop, Bad Cop for me.
All right. Biggest disappointment for me was Unita. This was a game that had these big dice in it, and I was like, "Oh, these giant dice!" And you move them around in an abstract way. It was so boring. I was so disappointed because it looked so cool.
My biggest disappointment this year was actually Pandemic Contagion.
I thought we were just going to say Tom Vasel.
My biggest disappointment was
Stole
this guy,
my
right?
thunder.
What was it?
Pandemic Contagion.
Oh.
Because it has the word pandemic in it.
Was that yours too? No. Oh, wow. Okay, because that would be...
No, I was going to say Tom Vasel. You know what? I really didn't have a... I don't know. Maybe my spidey sense is getting a little bit better because I can look at a game and I can say, nah, this isn't going to be...
That's the thing. It's not...
This isn't going to be any good.
I'm having a lot less of those moments. Actually, the surprises. But seeing a game that I think is going to be bad and probably is bad is much more likely than seeing a game that looks good and I can probably tell it's going to be good, and it's good.
Right.
So Pandemic Contagion sounded interesting, but the game was very flavorless for me.
I guess maybe one of my I guess maybe Colt Express, because I thought I was going to enjoy the game and I love the concept of the game. I've got these meat hooks, man, and manipulating my little pieces and underneath.
Don't worry, you're not the only one who said that.
Oh man, it's just not fun for me. I like the concept of the game. I like the mechanics of the game. I like how you can, be sneaky about shooting people and stealing stuff and all that kind of stuff. I love all of that. It's just that when you have to manipulate inside that little train, it's oh man.
The thing about that game is, I think that game is like developed for disappointment, and that's not to say the game's bad. I think the game's actually really fun. I liked it a lot. But it's a game that looks amazing. Then you get in there and it's a really light game, which is going to disappoint people. Yeah, and it has that dexterity challenge, which is going to be annoying and bothersome. It's one of those games I'm afraid will upset people because of that. But the game's fun, but super light. You got to go in it knowing that.
Well, anyway, these are the different categories we have. We'll talk about upcoming stuff later on in a future one. We will be talking in our tomorrow, we'll be talking about our top 10 games of the year. Cool. And we will be looking forward to 2015 and talking about that. And if you want to hear more of this, the Dice Tower audio show has a ton of contributors who give their different games into different categories. Favorite games, worst games, etc. So you can go check that out. All this found at dicetower.com. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And I'm Sam Healey.
Much faster.
Yes.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.